Debbie Tanyous is the Benefits and Policy Specialist at Spirit Energy. During 2020, she launched their 3 pillars of wellbeing: financial, physical, and mental. Spirit have a huge focus on wellbeing, and Debbie has really led that work. She's a mother to 1 6-year-old daughter and 1 3-year-old son. And when she decided to have a family, she also said, I do want to have it all. She had some great advice to share with us, and I'm so happy to have you here chatting with me, Debbie. Thank you so much for taking the time.
Thank you so much.
So I'd love to ask you as a sort of introduction question, because some of your story is just amazing. What inspired you to lead change for women at work? What inspires you?
So I think there's been lots of inspirational points throughout my career. I've always been in human resources. And, looking back, I think there was times when I would often feel the underdog, particularly early career. And I've found that there's been very simple steps that I've taken to overcome that, such as when I'm in a meeting room with various people at different levels in the organisation, just being one of the first to speak and hearing your voice in the room can take away that anxiety, that fear factor of speaking up. Once it's out there, you feel a lot more comfortable talking, as opposed to waiting and waiting to get your point across and perhaps feeling more anxious as you go along. And other things that I found as I went through my career is I've often been told that decisions in my career may be career limiting if I didn't take the right path. And what I've found from that is always trust your instinct, because your gut feeling tends to always be the right one. And always trust your own moral compass as you go through. I think that's particularly important throughout my career. I've also found that I've tended not to take no for an answer in my career. You often get told no, and I think you can challenge that. And it's okay to be a bit of a positive irritant at times, or to be a little bit rebellious, in the right way. And I found that in my personal life also. So around 6 years ago, when my daughter was born, and the first time I became a parent, she was born with a hemangioma on her face, which is basically a birthmark or benign tumour on the face. And I had an incredibly difficult experience at that time with, first time parents going out into the world. And I did receive a lot of negative comments from people, which I didn't quite expect to get. But it happened a lot, and it put me into a really difficult place. And for the first time ever, my mental health really, really suffered during that time. But as time went on, I started to apply the logic of not taking no for an answer in the workplace to my personal life. And I started to really channel that into finding the right doctors, finding the right source of help, and ultimately setting up my own support group for parents locally and in the UK, because I just couldn't find the support I needed to start with. I couldn't find it at all. So I took that ownership and started to really help other families that were going through the same thing, pointing them to the right source of help, and also just having an outlet to talk about the issues that we were facing, talk about our concerns for when the children got to school age, for instance, and how that made us feel. So the power of talking, the power of connecting really came into play there. So don't take no for an answer was something that, I only ever had applied in the workplace before that, but I realised that that was something that I needed to live by, both in personal and work life as well. And so when Annabelle got a little bit older, when she was closer to 1, I wanted to go part-time in the workplace, because I kept hearing this phrase, you can't have it all. You can't be a great parent and keep moving up the career ladder in senior positions. But I wanted to have it all, and I didn't see why I should forfeit the career having had children. I didn't feel that was fair. And I wanted to role model to my daughter that I could be really successful in my career still and also be a great parent. So I then started a bit of a crusade, I'll be honest. It wasn't easy to get part-time in the large corporation that I worked in at the time. It wasn't the norm. So I had to battle to get that position. And it really came down to having the right sponsors in place, having the right leaders in place who were willing to support me in that journey to get to part-time. So I got to part-time, which was fantastic, and I started to feel like I could really have the best of both worlds, have that career still that I'd worked so hard, that I'd studied so hard to get, but also have that quality time at home. But then I came against another obstacle, and it's quite a subtle challenge that I never really noticed before going part-time. Whenever people in the workplace referred to me being part-time, it always came with only part-time. Ah, you're only part-time. Ah, always it came with that word only part-time. So I banned it and I said, right, nobody's going to say the words only part-time, because I'm a firm believer that it's not down to how many hours you work. It's not down to presenteeism. It's about the opportunity you're given and the quality of the work that you produce in that time. And honestly, loyalty comes hand in hand with that to an organisation as well, because I was incredibly loyal to the organisation, having been given that opportunity to be able to balance both aspects of my life. So that piece was banned, and I haven't heard it in spirit. I'm very happy to report, but very much that was a hangover in the big corporation that I worked in. So really wanted to make changes and abolish that term. So I think those were the key inspirations through my life, or through my career. And I just wanted to make sure that others had that same opportunities that I'd had. And I wanted to spread that word in spirit. But as you've already mentioned, spirit is very focused on well-being and very focused on equal opportunities as well. So it's a great fit for me to work here.
Yes, fabulous. And in your time there, you've launched these 3 pillars to wellness. And so can you tell me a bit about those 3 pillars, what it was that you wanted to change, how you kind of decided what to put in, what to have as the 3 pillars and how to implement it? Talk a bit
Absolutely.
about that.
So our 3 pillars of well-being are the overarching support for physical health, mental health, and financial health. And we wanted to allow people in the workplace to focus on these 3 areas of their life during working time. We wanted it to feel very natural and just part of the day for people to invest time in their mental health by attending a coaching session with one of our providers, or to invest in their physical health by attending our fitness program, or in their financial health by looking into our financial provider and the different offerings that brings. So just to give a little bit of a summary on each of these 3 areas. So our mental health coaching, it's an incredibly safe space for individuals to go to talk about anything they wish to, be it home life, be it work life. It might be role playing a difficult conversation that you need to have in the workplace with an employee or with your manager, or it might be just talking about a personal situation that's really getting you down. And it's all about creating actionable steps to help you get through that situation. We've also got our employee assistance program as well, where you can phone up at any point, 365 days of the year. But I think the coaching service is really unique, and it really differentiates us, giving people that space. And then we've got our physical fitness offering, where we give employees fitness tech, so wearable watches where they can track their steps, their weight, and also doctor-led information sessions and clinician appointments. So you can talk to them about your own personal situation. And that even includes blood testing as well. So you can really drill down into your own blood results and how you can make a positive change. And then we've got our financial provider, which focuses on financial well-being. And so I think when people think about financial well-being, they think, oh, it's just talking about pension and insurances. That's not the case. It's looking at how your financial situation impacts your entire well-being. We all know if the individuals are facing financial difficulty, it really affects your mental health. Equally, if your physical health is suffering, it affects your mental health as well. So all of them are very much combined. And as I mentioned at the beginning, we wanted people to feel like they didn't need permission to go and invest these 3 areas. On any given workday, I might touch on any of these areas myself. I'll go in and talk to a clinician, I'll attend a coaching session, I'll watch a financial webinar, and that's okay. because we recognise that it's very important that you take care of these areas, particularly given the situation that we're in at the moment with the global pandemic and all the restrictions that people are facing as a result. Never has well-being been more important for people.
So this Game Changer series is really about women supporting other women in the workplace, but we know that mental health affects both men and women. Can you speak on that a little bit in relation to the 3 pillars of wellness?
Absolutely, and you're absolutely right. This is an issue that impacts everyone, and it's really important to us that for every initiative we launch, that men are allies to this, and we don't alienate anyone by doing so. But I think I can certainly leverage my experience as a woman in the workplace to try and help others to succeed, and I think that's really important.
Yeah, absolutely. And since you launched the 3 pillars, what is the change that you're most proud of since you ignited this change within Spirit Energy?
Well, I think all of these 3 pillars are now very much part of the conversation. They're a natural part of the dialogue within the organisation, and that wasn't the case before. And the piece I'm particularly proud of, myself and 2 other colleagues shared our own mental health journey. We actually recorded a coaching session that we had, taking a particularly difficult time for us and walking through that and how we came out the other side of that. And it was particularly difficult. If I take my own one, for instance, it was a really personal story and not one that I'd shared with many people, but I was determined to get it out there because I thought if it would touch just one person, then that would be a success and that would make a huge difference. So I talked through Annabelle, my 6-year-old, and her journey with her facial hemangioma. And it was really interesting what happened after it. And I was really nervous when it went out there, I'll be honest. I couldn't watch it. I asked my husband to watch it, but I wouldn't. And shortly after they were released, a couple of people started just messaging me and saying, wow, saw your video. My friend is going through exactly the same situation. I don't know what to say to her. I don't know how to help her. Would you recommend? And it was so great to be able to start that discussion with people. And I started to see how it just helps, that personal element, that storytelling did just help to connect with other people and started these different discussions. And so that was fantastic to see. And I think just showing that vulnerability was really important. And then it almost gave permission for others to show their vulnerability too. So I think I'm really proud of that. And I think that was a really successful campaign that we did.
Yeah, that's really beautiful. And I mean, you're absolutely right. Vulnerability helps create connection. And that's such a wonderful story in support of supporting mental health as well. Like, it's amazing. And I love the summary of your inspiration. Like, you did want to have it all. It's not only part-time, because it's not about the hours, it's about what you're doing in the hours, and don't take no for an answer. Thank you so much for chatting with me and sharing your wisdom and thoughts and ideas. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you.